When a millionaire disguised himself in his restaurant, he discovered 3 life-changing words. Charlie Weaver had it all. A bustling restaurant in the heart of a struggling neighborhood, filled with gourmet dishes and sparkling chandeliers, stood as a testament to his success. Yet, every night, as he greeted customers with a smile, a gnawing emptiness shadowed his heart. The glitzy facade clashed with the lives of single mothers, veterans haunted by memories, and families barely scraping by. Charlie felt more like a stranger than a local hero. Determined to reconnect, he decided to cloak himself in anonymity. He donned a simple black cap and an apron, anything to blend in. As he stepped behind the kitchen doors, the vibrant chaos enveloped him. Clattering dishware mixed with shouts and laughter, creating a symphony that vibrated with life. He stood unnoticed at the prep station, slicing vegetables with the line cooks, realizing that these small moments laced with camaraderie were the pulse of the community he longed to understand. Days turned into weeks as he forged bonds with his staff. Over greasy plates and shifting shifts, he listened as Elena, a young waitress, shared her dreams of breaking the poverty cycle for her kids. He felt the weight of her worries in every word, the longing behind her smile. Then, there were grizzled veterans at the bar, sharing tales of bravery and loss. Their voices echoed in his mind, wrapping Charlie in their stories like a warm blanket. This was the heartbeat of his community, where love fought against despair and resilience bloomed amid hardship. One evening, 2 patrons sat at the bar, their heads bowed, voices barely above a whisper. "I wish I could say I forgive you," one of them murmured, the weight of their words hanging like a storm cloud. Charlie felt his chest tighten as the phrase struck him like lightning. It reminded him of his strained relationship with his brother, how 2 men could be so close yet drift apart, lost in ambition. He realized he needed to seek forgiveness not just from his brother but from himself. But as Charlie immersed deeper into his disguise, the festival burst into life on the street outside. Lights twinkled like stars, laughter wafted through the air, but all he felt was a familiar itch of anxiety. He had to confront who he was becoming. Standing in the middle of the joyous chaos, he felt small, a ghost hovering in his own restaurant, watching his reflection be swallowed by the buoyancy of the crowd. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with the reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. He felt the stakes soar. Could he bridge this chasm? The chatter faded as he stood, heart racing, ready to speak those 3 life-changing words he so desperately needed. He opened his mouth, but the thrumming beat of uncertainty stalled him. Confusion and suspicion swept across the crowd, eyes darting between him and the spectacle of the festival. In that moment, silence draped over him like a heavy cloak. Would he break free from the facade he wore? Or would this tentative step leave him stranded in a world where connection felt forever out of reach? Charlie stood frozen, feeling as if time had stopped. The laughter around him faded, replaced by a throbbing silence that echoed his doubts. He looked around at the faces familiar yet distant. In that moment, they seemed to see his disguise. The real Charlie. The one who had hidden behind wealth and success for far too long. Gathering courage, he took a deep breath, his words hanging precariously in the air. I need to say something. But the weight of vulnerability made his voice quiver. This was more than just a confession, it was a call to action. He could sense the crowd turning, their curiosity piqued but concern evident. From the back, a familiar voice rang out. It was Elena. "What's wrong, Charlie? You look like you've seen a ghost." Her playful tone cut through the tension, and he saw familiar kindness in her eyes. It reassured him, pushing him forward. He had to unpack the truth. "I'm not just the owner of this restaurant," he added, trying to steady his trembling hands. I'm tired of living for the success. I want to connect with all of you. I want to say I'm sorry. The words hung in the air heavier than he anticipated. A stirring of shock swept through the crowd. Some exchanged glances, as if trying to decode his admission. But there was a flicker of something: hope? Understanding? Perhaps even encouragement. But Charlie wasn't done. Sorry for not seeing you, for not being here when you fought your battles. I've been lost in my own world, blinded by my own dreams. I want to do better to help us all. And I want to mend the bridge with my brother, too. His chest tightened at the thought. Would his brother be open to forgiveness? Was it possible to truly heal those old wounds? The faces around him softened, revealing a spectrum of emotions. He had shared his heart, now he waited for a response, fear creeping in once more. At that moment, the uncleared carafes of sorrow seemed to spill over from the crowd. A tear glimmered in Elena's eye. You're not alone in this, Charlie. We've all made mistakes, and sometimes, we need to say we're sorry to ourselves, too. People in the bar started murmuring support, sharing their own stories of pain and regret, bonding over their honest confessions. Charlie felt a warmth blooming in his chest as connections formed, bridging the distance he thought was unbridgeable. The facade broke, and in that vulnerable space, hope began to flourish. With every shared story, the atmosphere lightened. A woman from a nearby table spoke up, "You did the hardest thing, Charlie. Admitting you're wrong, most can't even do that." Suddenly, laughter erupted as a child's balloon burst outside, momentarily breaking the solemnity. A ripple of joyful laughter spread like wildfire, lifting spirits all around. Charlie smiled. It was a start. But he knew he couldn't stop here. He needed to find his brother, to confront the past in hopes of rebuilding their bond. He turned to Elena and the others. This doesn't end here. Let us build something together that matters. And I need your help, too. They nodded in unison, together in this shared purpose. Charlie's heart raced as the possibilities unfolded before them. Yet, in the back of his mind lingered a question. Would his brother accept his journey toward reconciliation? What would it mean to lay bare his soul to someone he had hurt deeply? As he stood among newfound friends, vision renewed, a sense of urgency surged. Charlie sensed the next chapter waiting to unfold, a pivotal reunion looming on the horizon. All he needed to do was take the next step, reach out to his brother and hope for the best. The next day dawned with a light that felt both brighter and heavier. Charlie woke with a knot of anticipation in his stomach. He had spent hours pondering how to reach out to his brother, Ben. Memories flooded his mind: shared laughter, childhood adventures, but also moments of betrayal and silence that had grown over the years. Elena had offered to help him draft a message, but something in Charlie insisted on handling this himself. He could picture Ben sitting at the tiny, cluttered table in his cramped apartment, the slight twist of his lips that seemed perpetually etched with discontent. Charlie's heart raced as he tapped out a text. "Can we meet? I have something important to discuss." Each keystroke echoed with his fear of rejection. He pressed send. Almost immediately, a wave of regret surged. What if Ben didn't respond? What if he ignored him? Yet the desire for connection drowned out the doubt. The minutes passed like hours, his mind spiraling through possibilities, each darker than the last. Finally, Charlie decided he'd take action. He grabbed his coat and made his way to the diner Ben used to love. As he stepped inside, the familiar smell of greasy fries and sweet coffee hit him, a bittersweet reminder of simpler times. He scanned the room, hoping to catch a glimpse of his brother. "Charlie?" A voice pulled him from his thoughts. It was Max, one of the staff from his restaurant. "You look like you've seen a ghost. Everything okay?" "Just trying to reconnect with some people," Charlie replied, forcing a smile. Max nodded knowingly, but Charlie could see curiosity flickering in his eyes. "I get that. It's not easy, Max said, leaning in slightly. But if you really want to put in the work, it's worth it. People aren't as harsh as we imagine. Sometimes, they just need to hear the truth. Charlie appreciated Max's reassurance, feeling a little lighter. Maybe he was on the right path. After a few minutes of idle small talk, he excused himself, his emotions bubbling again. He needed to find Ben. As he stepped outside, Charlie's phone buzzed. A message. It was Ben. Fine. Where? He felt a rush of relief, mixed with a pang of fear. This was at the moment he had been preparing for, or dreading, depending on how you looked at it. Same diner, in an hour? Charlie typed back, his heart thudding in his chest. Somewhere, deep down, he hoped this was the beginning of healing. The hour dragged on, each tick of the clock like a countdown to a defining moment. When Ben finally arrived, Charlie could feel the tension crackle in the air. His brother's face was stoic, maybe even a little skeptical. Hey, Ben said, sliding into the booth across from Charlie. There was a distance in his voice that made Charlie's heart ache. Thanks for coming, Charlie started, forcing out the words. He didn't want to waste this chance. I wanted to talk about everything. About us. A long pause hung between them. Charlie could see Ben grappling with memories, hurt, and perhaps even a flicker of hope reflecting in his eyes. I don't know if I'm ready, Charlie, Ben finally replied, his voice low. You haven't been there, not when it mattered. There it was, the truth of their past laid bare. Charlie felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. I know I've messed up. I'm sorry for not being the brother you needed. But I'm trying now. Can you meet me halfway? Ben's expression softened, even if just a fraction. Why now? Because I'm tired of running. Tired of pretending everything's fine when it's not. I need my brother back. Silence fell again, each man forming his own thoughts, the weight of vulnerability heavy but necessary. Charlie felt hope surge again. Maybe this wasn't just about saying the words. Maybe it was the beginning of action. Would Ben let him back in? As their eyes met, Charlie sensed the potential for change, a tiny crack in the wall that guarded their hearts. The possibilities were endless, hanging in the air like the scent of fresh coffee. The moment felt on the brink, a step toward something profound. Would Ben take the leap, or hang back in the shadows of their past? Both had a choice, and Charlie was ready to face this head-on. But would his brother feel the same? Ben leaned back in the booth, his eyes narrowing slightly as he considered Charlie's words. The tension between them felt like a heavy blanket, smothering yet inviting. Charlie held his breath, searching his brother's face for any sign of a thaw in the walls he had built up over the years. What's changed for you? Ben finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as if the question was too much to say aloud. Why should I believe this isn't just another empty promise? Charlie felt a pang in his chest. The skepticism was warranted, but it still hurt. Because I've done a lot of thinking. I've been lost, Ben, truly lost. He swallowed hard, trying to push through the lump. I've spent so much time chasing success, chasing approval, that I forgot what really matters. I forgot you. Ben looked away, but Charlie could see the conflict in his brother's eyes. You've always put work first, Ben replied, bitterness creeping into his tone. You were never around when things got tough. Charlie nodded, feeling the sting of the truth. I can't change the past, but I can change now. I want to be there for you, not just as your brother but as someone you can count on. Whatever it takes. For a moment, the silence wrapped around them, almost comfortingly. A waitress passed by, filling their coffee cups, and Charlie caught her glance. She seemed to notice the heaviness between the brothers. Why should I trust you, Charlie? Ben finally asked, a flicker of vulnerability breaking through his tough exterior. What if you leave again? Charlie leaned forward, the urgency of his words clear. "Then I'll give you every right to walk away. But I'm asking for a chance. Just one chance to show you I mean it." Ben's expression softened a bit, but Charlie could still see the wariness in his brother's eyes. "It's not so easy to forget the past." "I know," Charlie replied, feeling tears brimming. "But I believe it's never too late to start over. Look, I miss you. I miss us. I want to make new memories, not just cling to the old ones." The flicker of hope that had been sparking in Charlie's chest started to grow. He could sense a shifting in the atmosphere, like the sun pushing through dark clouds. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment they could begin to move forward. Ben took a deep breath, contemplating something very serious. "I want to believe you," he said finally, his voice cracking slightly. "But it's going to take time." Charlie nodded, relief flooding through him. "I can wait. I'll show you I'm here for the long haul." Just then, something shifted in the corner of the diner. A well-dressed stranger had entered, his presence immediately commanding attention. Heads turned, and whispers danced through the crowd. Charlie and Ben, momentarily distracted, watched the man's confident stride as he made his way to the counter. "Who is that?" Charlie asked aloud, speeding past thoughts of earlier tensions with his brother. "I have no idea," Ben replied, his curiosity piqued. As they observed the stranger intently, Charlie felt a sense of awakening inside him. Details mattered, connections mattered, and perhaps this new person would spark something more. But as the man turned his head, eyes locking with Charlie's, a jolt of recognition coursed through the air. Charlie fought to fathom how the truth of his own life was intertwined with the arrival of this unexpected visitor. What connection could this mysterious figure have to their story? Would this moment become a catalyst for change, or would it complicate things even further? Charlie's heart raced again, uncertainty swirling in the pit of his stomach. The next chapter of their lives was about to unfold, and in that diner, time hung delicately, brimming with unanswered questions. Would this stranger alter their path forever? The stranger approached the counter with an air of quiet confidence, his sharp suit contrasting sharply against the diner's worn decor. Charlie couldn't shake the creeping sensation that this man was somehow pivotal. He felt Ben's gaze, a mix of curiosity and wariness, latched onto the newcomer. The man took a seat at the bar, his back turned to them, yet something about the way he held himself felt familiar. Charlie leaned in, trying to catch a glimpse of the stranger's face, but was met with just the flicker of silver hair, slicked back with precision. "Do you know him?" Ben asked, a hint of frustration creeping into his voice. "No, but I feel like I should," Charlie replied, half to himself, half to his brother. They watched as the stranger surveyed the menu with careful deliberation. The waitress, sporting a bubblegum pink apron, approached with a smile that brought a warmth to the room. As she leaned forward to take his order, Charlie caught the way she glanced at the man with admiration, a sparkling interest that felt contagious. The stranger's laughter rang out rich and genuine, echoing against the diner's plastic booths. It was a sound that seemed to wrap around Charlie's heart, making it thaw a little. "I wonder what he's got going on," Ben murmured, his own curiosity piqued. It was a rare moment where they shared intrigue. "I don't know, but it feels like he's important." "I can't really explain it," Charlie said, trying to untangle the thread of recognition that knotted inside him. As if responding to the energy building in the space between them, the man turned slightly, and their eyes locked. For a heartbeat, Charlie felt an electric jolt. The stranger's gaze was piercing yet soft, a storm of intensity weaving through the air. And then it happened, an overwhelming wave of familiarity crashed down on Charlie. It was like a door creaking open, a memory hidden deep within him beginning to resurface. "Charlie?" The man spoke, his voice deep, shaking off the remnants of his laughter. He smiled, and just like that, the stranger was no longer a stranger, he was a fragment of Charlie's past. "Mr. Harrington," Charlie breathed, the name escaping like a confession. It echoed in the diner, attracting glances from other patrons. It's been a long time, the man said, his smile broadening, but Charlie could see something masked beneath it, something grave that hinted at untold secrets. Ben shifted in his seat, scanning between Charlie and Mr. Harrington. "You know each other?" he asked, a tone of disbelief wrapping around his words. We used to. Back when I was just starting out." "He was my mentor," Charlie admitted, feeling a weight lift, even as it mixed with a looming dread. Mr. Harrington's gaze softened, but his lips pressed into a thin line. "I've been looking for you," he said, the surprising words settling heavy in the air. "Looking for me?" Charlie's heart raced. Why now? What could this man possibly want after so long? "No more dodging," Mr. Harrington continued. "There's something we need to discuss, something you want to believe." The urgency in his tone sent a ripple through the diner. Charlie's mind spun with possibilities. Questions surged in him. What could be so urgent? What had happened that warranted this sudden reappearance? And more importantly, how might whatever it was tie into his fractured relationship with Ben? Ben's voice broke through, bringing him back momentarily. "What is going on?" The world narrowed to just the three of them in that moment, a triangle of tension forged from the past, awkward expectations, and potential consequences. "This could change everything," Charlie whispered, feeling the weight of destiny coiling around them, bracing for whatever came next. Would he finally get the answers he sought? Or would the discovery send him deeper into the shadows of his own choices? All he could do was lean in, heart pounding, lost in the mystery of Mr. Harrington's arrival, and pray for the courage to face whatever revelations awaited. Charlie held his breath as Mr. Harrington's gaze lingered on him, a fire in those deep-set eyes that hinted at so much more than just a mentor-student reunion. He could feel the diner's atmosphere shifting, the clinking of dishes fading into the background, like the world outside had slipped into silence. "I need you to trust me," Mr. Harrington said, leaning forward slightly. The intensity of his presence was almost overwhelming. "There are things I didn't tell you before, things you deserve to know now." His words sent a shiver through Charlie, awakening echoes of memories, years spent learning under Harrington's guidance, moments of laughter intertwined with lessons of determination. But then there were darker memories too, the weight of burdens unshared. "Trust you?" Ben scoffed, instinctively on guard. Why should my brother trust someone who just waltzed back into his life after all these years? Mr. Harrington straightened, his expression sharpened by an unfolding tension. "Because this concerns both of you." "What do you mean, both of us?" Charlie's mind raced. He was grasping for clarity but felt himself being swept along a current he didn't understand. The stranger took a deep breath, his demeanor shifting slightly. "Years ago, I made a choice, a decision that intertwined our lives in ways you haven't realized yet." "Just get to the point," Ben urged, his frustration boiling over. "Fine," Harrington replied, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. "You are both part of something bigger. Every move you've made, every choice, it's all been leading to this moment." Charlie's heart pounded. He could feel the flutter of anxiety in his chest and half expected the diner to fall apart around him. It felt like listening to a plot twist in a movie he didn't sign up for. "I was involved in a project, a powerful one," Harrington said, choosing his words carefully. "It was meant to benefit our community, but I miscalculated. Decisions were made that put us all in danger, and now," he paused, a tightness in his throat, "now things are going terribly wrong." "Wait," Charlie interjected, "how do we fit into this? What did you do?" With a heavy sigh, Harrington looked into Charlie's eyes with something that resembled regret. "I tied your fates together without your consent. You and Ben have a connection through your family that I hoped you'd never uncover." Ben's brows knitted together in confusion. "What are you talking about? Connection? You must be lost." "I can't explain it all here," Harrington admitted, the urgency in his voice returning. "But we need to meet in a safe space somewhere away from prying eyes. Time is short, and I can't afford to lose you too." Charlie felt the weight of his brother's anxious gaze, and his heart thumped loudly. Images of the past flashed before him, inklings of a hidden truth that had always lurked at the edges of his understanding. "I need to know why this matters to me," Charlie challenged. "Why should I believe any of this?" "Because, Charlie," Mr. Harrington said, his voice steadying with conviction, "you are the key to unlocking everything. The truth has been buried, and only you can bring it to light." As Mr. Harrington's words hung in the air, Charlie felt an overwhelming sense of destiny crashing upon him. It was a call to action he didn't know he had been waiting for. "Are you in or out, Charlie?" Harrington pressed, his eyes drilling into him, heavy with the weight of what he was offering. The diner felt like it was tilting, shadows growing long, and all Charlie could see were the fragments of his life connecting like puzzle pieces, a glimpse of something monumental waiting to be unveiled. After a long pause, Charlie took a deep breath, the call of something profound echoing in him. "I'm in, but Ben needs to understand this too." "Then we face it together," Ben replied, his voice steadier than Charlie expected. Mr. Harrington nodded, a hint of a smile breaking through the tension. "Then let us go find the truth. It's time to uncover what has been hidden for far too long." As they stood to leave, Charlie's pulse raced. He could almost taste the ripple of change in the air. What awaited them in the deep unknown could change everything or shatter it all into pieces. But his feet were already moving forward, drawn into the mystery of an unfolding destiny, determined to embrace the revelation hurtling toward them. Would they find answers that could redeem their past, or would they uncover secrets better left buried? Walking through the diner's door felt like crossing a threshold into a different world. The familiar smells of coffee and pancakes faded into the background as Charlie followed Mr. Harrington, with Ben close behind. Tension hung in the air like thick fog, and Charlie could feel every pulse of uncertainty between them. "Where are we going?" Ben asked, trying to assert some control over the situation. Charlie appreciated that his brother was grounding him, but the truth was, he had no idea where this was heading. "Trust me," Mr. Harrington replied, the weight of those words washing over Charlie. Trust. It felt like a heavy cloak he wasn't sure he could wear. They stepped into the old red pickup truck Harrington had parked just outside. The engine roared to life, filling the confined space with a guttural vibration. Charlie glanced at Ben, who was biting his lip, a clear sign of his mounting anxiety. Charlie couldn't blame him. They were diving into unknown waters, deep and murky. "Where to?" Charlie asked, his voice barely rising above the rumble. He could see the tension etched on Mr. Harrington's face as he turned onto the quieter streets of their town. "There's a place I used to go," Harrington replied, focusing on the road ahead. "It's secluded. We can talk without being interrupted." Minutes passed as Charlie stared out the window, his mind racing. Memories of their childhood drifted through him, moments in time when life felt so simple. But that simplicity was long gone, replaced by swirling shadows of mystery hanging over them. Finally, they pulled up to a small, forgotten cabin nestled among the trees, its wooden walls weathered by time. A flicker of nostalgia washed over Charlie as he recognized it. "I remember this place," he whispered, startling his brother. "Do you?" Harrington asked, his eyes lighting up with a sliver of relief. "I brought you two here once for a winter retreat. It was a good time, full of warmth and laughter." "Until it wasn't," Ben muttered. "Come on, let us get inside," Harrington urged gently, stepping out into the fresh air that felt so crisp and needed. Inside, the cabin's rustic charm enveloped them, with walls soaked in stories of their past. The fireplace still held remnants of old embers, casting a soft glow in the dimly lit room. Charlie chose a seat by the window, the view of the trees framing a moment frozen in time. "I know you're both confused, and I can't share everything here," Harrington began, pacing slightly as he tried to find the right approach. "But what you need to understand is this: your lives have always been under a cloud of unexpected influence." "Influence from what?" Ben pressed, his frustration growing louder. "And why are you saying it's connected to us?" Mr. Harrington paused, looking between the brothers. "Because there are secrets buried in your family history. Secrets I uncovered long before you were born. When I made decisions years ago, I thought I was protecting you. But now, it seems those very choices have led us to this moment." Charlie's heart pounded. A sense of urgency filled the air. "But why now? Why us?" "Because there are forces at play," Harrington explained, urgency creeping into his tone. "Forces that will stop at nothing to keep us from knowing the truth. I don't want to scare you, but you both have a part to play." "My part in what?" Charlie asked, voice sharper than he intended. The knots in his stomach twisted tighter. Harrington stepped closer, the intensity of his expression undeniable. "The answer to all of this lies within you, waiting for you to face it. We must act quickly." As those words settled into the silence, a distant sound echoed through the trees. Footsteps. Then voices. "Someone's coming," Ben whispered, the color draining from his face. The realization hit Charlie like a cold splash of water. They weren't just running toward the truth, they might be running from a threat. "I need you both to be ready," Mr. Harrington said, his urgency now palpable. "Whatever happens next, we have to stand together." Just as Charlie nodded, a sense of resolve flooding through him. The door burst open. Shadows loomed in the frame, and a chill ran down Charlie's spine. Who had found them? What was waiting on the other side of that threshold? In that moment, the gravity of their journey crystallized. This was no longer just about discovering lost truths. It was about survival and so much more. "Are you ready for what comes next?" Harrington whispered, stepping toward the doorway, ready to confront the unknown. The door swung wide, revealing a figure silhouetted by the fading light outside. It was a man, tall and broad-shouldered, with an unmistakable air of intimidation. The shadows danced across his face as he stepped forward, revealing a stern expression that sent chills through Charlie. "Mr. Harrington," the newcomer said, voice smooth yet laced with menace. "I found you." Ben instinctively stepped closer to Charlie, their shoulders brushing as they braced for whatever was to come. Mr. Harrington held his ground, his jaw tightening. "This isn't the time, Jack," he replied, an edge in his tone that hinted at history. "Time's precisely what we don't have," Jack retorted, his eyes settling on the brothers. You're part of this mess too. I suggest you stay quiet if you don't want to find out just how deep it goes." Charlie's heart raced. The room felt smaller, trapping them within four walls thick with tension. "What do you want?" Charlie asked, emboldened by fear. Jack sneered, his gaze flicking between the brothers and Harrington. "It's not about what I want, it's about what you're about to lose. You've already dug too deep." Ben glanced at Harrington, seeking reassurance but finding only steel resolve. "This isn't about us. We're just trying to understand." Jack interrupted, stepping closer, invading their space. "You think you're special because you've waded into murky waters? Newsflash, the world doesn't center around you. You're just pawns in a much larger game." "What game?" Charlie's voice shook now, the weight of Jack's words pressing down on him. The stakes were higher than he'd imagined. Mr. Harrington stepped forward, placing himself as a barrier between the brothers and the threat. "Enough of this. You have no right to intimidate them. They deserve the truth just as much as you do." Jack's laughter filled the room, devoid of warmth. "Truth? You think that'll save them? They're in over their heads. You don't know what's really at play here, Harrington. You never did." Ben reached for Charlie's hand, gripping it tightly as they felt the tension transform into something electric. The cabin, once a place of childhood memories, now felt like a trap. Their family history, something they had never considered as dangerous, now loomed over them, ready to unleash chaos. Whatever you think I might know, you're wrong, Harrington said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. They have a right to know their history. If there's risk involved, I will protect them. Jack smirked, glancing back at the brothers as though weighing their value. Protect them? You may find it hard to protect anyone when the truth comes crashing down. You cannot hide them from what's coming. Charlie's chest tightened. He turned to Ben, who looked equally terrified but resolute. They had to find a way to unravel this, to understand their place in whatever conspiracy Harrington had mentioned. But the lurking fear felt suffocating. Stop. Charlie blurted, his voice shaking but filled with a new resolve. We need to know. If there's a threat, we can't sit idly by. All eyes locked on him, the weight of their shared history suspended in the air. Jack's cocky demeanor faltered for a second, replaced by an intensity that made Charlie's heart pound. Brave, aren't you? Jack said slowly, his smile creeping back. But bravery doesn't change your fate. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed outside, causing them all to jump. The trees shook, leaves fluttering like frightened birds. A car door slammed, and hurried footsteps approached. Who else is here? Ben murmured, fear flooding back. Mr. Harrington clenched his fists at his sides, determination etching his features. We need to move. Now. Charlie looked to Ben, seeing the fear mirrored in his brother's eyes but also a flicker of something stronger, a shared commitment to uncover this truth, no matter the cost. What do we do? Ben asked, urgency coloring his words. Stick together, Harrington instructed, moving towards the door. And don't trust anyone you don't know. The cold night air rushed into the cabin as they opened the door wider. The sounds of approaching chaos looming behind them. Ready or not, Charlie knew one thing, stepping outside would change everything. What awaited them in the dark? The truth was getting closer, but was it an ally, or a foe? The door swung open, and a wave of cold air rushed in, carrying with it the unfamiliar sounds of rustling leaves and hurried footsteps. Charlie's mind raced as he took in the darkened landscape beyond the threshold. The light from the cabin flickered against the encroaching night, casting eerie shadows that danced like ghosts across the grass. Go! Harrington's command cut through the tension, snapping Charlie into action. He grasped Ben's hand tightly as they stepped outside into the chill. The frenzied cracking of twigs echoed off in the distance, sending shivers down Charlie's spine. Stay low. Harrington instructed, leading the way down the steps. They ducked behind the old wooden porch, trying to make sense of the muffled voices approaching. What's happening? Ben whispered, his voice barely a breath. I don't know, Charlie admitted, his insides twisting with both fear and adrenaline. But we can't just run. We need to understand what we're up against. Harrington glanced back, his expression grim. We can talk later. Right now, we need to get to the tree line. They moved cautiously, hearts pounding, adrenaline heightening the senses. Every rustle felt like a threat, every whisper like a secret too dangerous to hear. Just as they reached the edge of the trees, the sound of footsteps intensified. A figure emerged from the darkness, silhouetted against the faint glow of a distant streetlight. Charlie froze, trying to peer through the gloom, praying it wasn't another danger. As the figure approached, clarity cut through the shadows. It was a woman dressed in dark clothing, her expression unreadable. Jack? Are you out here? She called, her voice steady but laced with urgency. Quick, hide. Harrington hissed, shoving them behind a thick cluster of bushes. Heart racing, Charlie's mind darted with possibilities. Who was she? What connection did she have to Jack, or worse, to the secrets that surrounded his family? The woman paused, scanning the area. She appeared confident, perhaps even predatory, as if she knew something they didn't. We have to move, she said, urgency creeping into her tone. The others are coming. Others? Ben whispered, panic rising. Shoo! Harrington shot back, holding his breath as the woman turned back toward the cabin, her focus shifting. We don't have time for questions right now. Whatever happens, stay close. Charlie felt the weight of fear pressing down on him, but it was the thought of their family history that anchored him in this moment. They had awakened something, and now it felt as if they were being drawn into a web. His fingers gripped Ben's tightly, a silent promise. They would uncover this mystery, together. With a sudden rush, the woman darted towards the cabin, disappearing into the shadows, followed by the echoes of urgency chasing her. Now! Harrington urged, moving deeper into the woods, not sparing a moment for hesitation. As they followed, Charlie's pulse raced. The darkness swallowed them, but it was the unknown that lit a fire in his chest. After a few minutes of running, they finally slowed, breathless and pressing against the gnarled bark of an ancient tree. The sounds of the chaos faded slowly, leaving only their ragged breaths hanging in the quiet night air. I can't keep this quiet anymore, Harrington said, his voice low but filled with gravity. You deserve to know what you've stumbled into, but you need to trust me. What is this? Ben demanded, eyes wide, glinting with a mix of fear and defiance. You keep saying that, but we can't live in the dark. Tell us what's at stake. Your lives, Harrington replied, his green eyes piercing through the shadowed moonlight. They're intertwined in ways you can't even begin to understand. With those last words, the implications settled in the air between them like a heavy mist. Charlie's heart raced as he realized how truly dangerous their search for answers had become. Was confronting the truth worth this? What would it cost them both? And just as he began to process the weight of Harrington's warning, distant sirens echoed through the night, a chilling reminder that the chaos wasn't too far behind them. What were they really running from? And how much deeper did this mystery go? As they crouched beneath the sprawling branches, their breath fogging in the crisp night air, Charlie's heart bashed against his ribcage like a trapped bird. The sirens wailed in the background, a haunting soundtrack to the turmoil stirring within him. The gravity of Mr. Harrington's words seemed to expand in the darkness, wrapping around them like a heavy fog. Please, just tell us what we're dealing with, Ben spoke up, his voice a sharp breath against the silent woods. We can't keep running blind. We need to know. Harrington rubbed the back of his neck, conflicted. What you've unearthed isn't just an ordinary family history. Your family was involved in a powerful initiative that, without careful oversight, spiraled into something that threatens not only your lives but the community as a whole. Charlie's mind raced, piecing together fragments of memories and whispers from their childhood. What kind of initiative? He pressed. There was a venture to create a sustainable program for economic growth in this area, Harrington explained, his voice steadying with determination. But it was fueled by classic corruption's secret deals, betrayals, and greed. When I tried to intervene, it didn't just end badly for me, it put your family in danger. The people who once trusted you may see you as obstacles now. What do you mean, put us in danger? Ben asked, eyes narrowing with a mix of fear and anger. You're saying we're targets because of something our family did? Yes, Harrington confirmed, his expression grave. And they're far from finished. Jack and his associates are trying to erase every trace of past mistakes. They fear what you may uncover. That truth, your connection to it, can expose everything. You're in this because you're a part of it. Charlie's thoughts coalesced into clarity as fear and adrenaline intertwined within him. So, we need to do something, he said, excitement creeping into his voice. We can't let them continue hiding the truth. Not when people's lives are at stake. Yes. Ben added, a new fire igniting in his eyes. Let us fight back. If our family can make a difference, let us use it. No. Harrington straightened, his tone resolute. This isn't just about courage. You need to play this smart. We don't have all the pieces yet. There are forces you don't quite understand, forces that will use your naivety against you. Charlie exchanged a glance with Ben, determination surging between them. Then help us understand, he urged. Help us figure it out. Harrington took a moment to consider. You'll need allies. People you can trust. We can't just go charging in. If we're going to expose the truth, we need to build a plan, gather information, find out who is working against you. Define allies, Ben pressed, a hint of skepticism coloring his voice. People who have been affected, the ones who live this reality every day, Harrington replied. There's a network of folks we can connect with. Activists, journalists, even some former associates of mine. They might help rally our community to fight back against this corruption. Charlie felt a rush of conviction. The weight of the past was pressing down on them, but they could turn it into a force for change. Let us do it, he said, determination blending into his voice. We can't be afraid anymore. As if to punctuate their resolve, the howl of distant sirens grew closer, reminding them that time was running short. They barely had covered distance when a bright beam of light swept through the trees, piercing the darkness as a vehicle approached. We need to move, Harrington urged, his voice low and tense. Quick! Head to the old shed behind the cabin. They darted deeper into the woods, hearts pounding in concert with the distant sirens. Each strained breath felt electric, fueling their resolve. Charlie's thoughts raced with a blending of fear and determination, adrenaline coursing through him. They reached the dilapidated shed just as the lights from the vehicle flickered through the trees. Breathless, they crammed inside, huddled together in the dark. What's next? Ben whispered, the thrill of danger still raging. Next, we plan, Harrington replied, his breath mingling with a flicker of renewed purpose. We find those allies, gather intel, and then we come back, ready to confront the forces behind the veil. In that moment, a spark ignited within them. Charlie felt the bond solidify not just with his brother, but with Harrington, a trio ready to reclaim their fate and fight against the dark legacy threatening their future. Charlie's heart raced, not only with fear but with newfound hope. They couldn't change the past, but they could forge a future where understanding, connection, and truth blossomed amidst the chaos. And with that, they were ready to step forward, together. The sirens faded into the night behind them, but they would not run from the truth any longer. They had awakened a fight that coursed through their veins, a call for justice echoing in their hearts. As they took the first steps into the unknown, Charlie knew that whatever was coming, that unified heartbeat would guide them. They were on the brink of something powerful. A transformation awaited, and they'd face it head-on. Every voice that had whispered to them, every hidden truth that lingered beyond the shadows, would soon be revealed. Nothing could hold them back. They were ready for a reckoning. Before you go, let us make sure you're part of this journey. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about how this tale unfolds. Let's connect with each other. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing transformation. Your support makes all the difference, only true fans understand that.